when you go up through the canal here, you know, there's a series of drawbridges.
Yeah.
And it gets, it looks like they have some stuff blocking it off. We'll see how far we can get.
Okay.
Because they're doing so much cleanup.
So this is Gowanus Canal proper.
Yeah, well, the canal is kind of in front of us, and then it goes around one or two more bends, and then it opens up into, I think they call it the Erie Basin.
Okay. And so we're looking at the entrance to the canal right here.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so this was, you know, the commercial waterway.
Yeah.
Has a series of 4 drawbridges, I think, but they don't get drawn very often. But now it's mostly Superfund traffic for the remediation.
And toxic tomato plants.
Some toxic tomato plants. Look at that.
And so when we look to the left, we're looking up through a drawbridge, high rise, more construction behind it. To the left, there's a bunch of conveyor belts. Is that an old offloading?
No, there's a lot of old concrete factories that were here.
So that's an old concrete factory.
And I think that one might still be functional, actually.
Yeah.
It looks like it, but a lot of stuff is moving. We'll be going to another concrete functioning facility in a bit.
And then when we look to the right,
It's a Whole Foods. With wind turbines and solar panels over the parking lot.
holy shit, look at them.
And
there are those vertical, like helix DNA looking wind turbines over the parking lot.
And that was the vacant lot. That was the big vacant lot that inspired Mari Liberum. We were like, we're gonna take it was the future home of Whole Foods at the time.
So and that was a time when Whole Foods in some ways was being viewed as like, you know, putting co-ops and
it told us what was coming.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a very clear, like, okay, Whole Foods. This is now Whole Foods. This is not like this is no longer concrete shoes. This is Whole Foods. And where that big spud thing is,
there's this crazy barge that's up in the air on 4 huge, like, super industrial spuds, which are pilings, columns that the barge carries for itself and then can drop. And sometimes they just get used for anchoring, but in this case, this is a real heavy-duty barge. The pilings drop through sleeves at each corner of the barge. The barge then ratchets and lifts itself up the pilings and is now out of the water.
I think it's just low tide.
Oh, okay.
I think it floated in there, put the pilings down, and now it's above the water.
It's cooler if it ratchets itself up the pilings.
It might be both. It looks like those could be motors in there.
Just give me that.
It could be. I'm making shit up, but I would float it.
I'm making shit up. We're all
But that is actually that is very close to where the empty vessel spent its last days.
Is that where it got scuttled?
Yeah, it's where it got scuttled.
So it's down there somewhere?
No, it was ceremonially and realistically the first thing that was part of the remediation. And they had like a different, like, you know, barge with the big claw.
Yeah.
And we all sat around and watched it as it kind of masticated the empty vessel.
Off the bottom?
It would chew
like
it
off
up.
the bottom?
Yeah, it was like picking it up and then dropping it onto a barge. It was just like chewing it up like a big...
That sounds... Was it cathartic?
Weirdly, yeah.
Have I told you about my boat mortician idea, my concept?
No.
All right, we'll go into that later. But so, and we might have to actually get the full empty vessel story later, but we won't do it here. Are we looking down the canal?
No, this is the 4th Street Basin, so this is like one spur and it dead ends here.
Okay.
And there was like a big sheet metal place that, like, you know, was spilling sheet metal into here. This vacant lot was empty for years and years and years because it was so toxic. And like, we used to sneak in, there were raves here, there was things that happened in the middle of this empty lot for years. But now it's Whole Foods. And that big brick building over there, that was formerly the power plant, known as the Bat Cave, and is now the Powerhouse Art Center, which is sort of like an empty art building waiting for something to happen.
Okay.
And then, if you're looking up that way, you can sort of see some construction, but if you follow the canal all the way back up to its source, you're going to be in the cavern of construction.
Okay. So this basin was a terminal for barges that would come in and pick stuff up, drop stuff off. For the canal.
No, it was working. You know, there was a lot of, you know, maritime history in New York. Like, this 4th Street Basin actually went into the basement of the can factory, which is, you can't really see from here, but it's like kind of the brick compound on the other side of Whole Foods.
Yeah.
And they literally had a dock in the basement. There's like boats that could come in and out. And when they started to talk about the cleanup, the landlord over there was hilarious. He was like, "You're gonna clean up? I want you to clean up the 4th Street Basin all the way back into the basement. I want to use it." I don't think he got what he wanted.
No.
Because that would have meant that part of like the U-Haul parking lot would go away.
All right, that's the Gowanus orientation.